When we talk about earth art or land art, we are typically talking about men doing manly things, making giant objects, moving earth, playing with big trucks. In fact, on a recent video I did about Michael Heiser's mega project in Nevada called City, one commenter said, "This whole thing is confused, hostile, and ultimately a windmill tilt by a madman who has managed to con a lot of money out of people engorged by capitalistic excess." There's a lot to unpack there, but what if I told you there was a woman out there who for decades had been making big art, getting her hands dirty, and putting things in galleries and museums across the globe? The work is equally impressive, arguably more beautiful, and she's 80 years old. The artist's name is Meg Webster, and I figured we should talk about her. Art lovers, welcome back to the channel. My name is Christopher West, and this is the place where we talk about all things modern and contemporary art and design. And today we're talking about Meg Webster, an artist who at 80 years old is just now starting to get the recognition she deserves. She studied with Donald Judd and Richard Serra at Yale, two titans of large art and minimalism, ultimately receiving her MFA in 1983. Her mentor was Michael Heiser, the aforementioned creator of City and other works like Double Negative and Levitated Mass at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. She's been working for decades, so why are we just learning about her now? Well, it's important to understand some context. First, and maybe surprisingly, these weren't just works made for and by artists with big egos. There was support out there, both from collectors and institutions, for these large, seemingly impossible installations. Take the gallerist Virginia Dwan, for example. I put gallerist in quotes because although she owned galleries in both Los Angeles and New York, she was also the heiress to the giant 3M Corporation. She didn't need to sell art to survive, and on the rare occasion where a transaction did occur, they were often considered happy accidents. Dwan championed and supported artists like Michael Heiser, Carl Andre, Walter de Maria. She even helped finance Robert Smithson's Spiral Jetty. I'm guessing you've noticed by now, this was a female gallerist/millionaire supporting almost all male artists. And what about the museums and institutions? I can tell you it doesn't get much better. Take the Dia Art Foundation, for example. They have for decades been stewards of much of the work we have been talking about. Their museum in Beacon, New York is my favorite space in the world, and the location where I shot much of this footage. But did you know they didn't acquire their first piece of land art by a female artist until they purchased Nancy Holt's Sun Tunnels in 2018? So now you're starting to get the picture. It wasn't as if women weren't making this type of work. It's that these women were often dismissed or ignored. But an artist has to make. So Meg Webster persisted, despite all the challenges. She has described herself as a sculptor who makes minimal art with natural materials. And what separates her work from many of her male counterparts is that her earthworks take a different direction from the often ecologically questionable work of her male peers. Diane Parker said in ArtNet News that Webster's sculptures and installation respond to the beauty of living earthen materials as a way to celebrate nature. And as she continued to work, as her work evolved, she brought more and more nature into the gallery. And this is the work currently on view at Dia Beacon. Much of this work comes from the 1980s, and for Webster, earth becomes appealing as a worthy, dignified material in an era of nuclear threats and environmental awareness. I call it a kinder, gentler type of earth art. Take concave earth, made of soil and stainless steel. It stands about chest height, inviting the viewer to get up close. From this vantage point, you not only see the work, but smell it, and begin to understand that this is not some static piece of sculpture. There are signs of life, and this sculpture is ever-changing and evolving. And then there's mound and mother mound, the convex counterparts to concave earth. Mound is made of soil and slowly reveals its shape as you approach. Mother mound is made by pressing and oiling red clay until the final shape is completed. Each time the work is installed, it must be made new from scratch. In both of these works, along with salt cone from 1988, the only materials used are natural materials. There is no armature or hidden skeleton. These works are solely crafted from earth, clay, or in this case, salt. This piece is titled Nearest Forest Soil, where the dirt is sourced from a nearby forest and jammed into a cylindrical mold. After a thorough packing, the mold is removed, and you are left with a sculpture that directly connects the earth to the artist. It is as high as her waist and as wide as her full height. Wall of Beeswax from 1990 stands 8 feet tall. Its curved shape not only envelops your body, but also hits you with the smell of honey. One has to think that she was thinking about her old friend Richard Serra when making this work. But where Serra is cold and confrontational, Webster remains warm and welcoming. Finally, I will mention moss bed. Not only does one want to jump right on it, please don't do that, but its dimensions exactly match that of a king-size mattress. Again, intimately connecting the viewer with nature. Experiencing this exhibition was just a joy, and I found the stress of being on the road for a week slowly leave my body. I probably spent more time in this gallery than any other, and on a C-dub art scale, I give it a 10. Highly recommended. So who collects this stuff? Does anybody collect this stuff? And what would you pay for a piece of earth? As you can imagine, most of the work seems to be housed by museums. In addition to the Dia Art Foundation, her work can be found in the collections of the Whitney, the Guggenheim, the Dallas Museum of Art, and many others. And traditionally, if we are going to assess current market value, we look at past auction results. But in Webster's case, there really aren't any. 10 years ago, a painting sold at Christie's for $1,500. And prior to that, a handful of her sculptures sold for almost nothing. She has been gaining steam, and as an artist's reputation grows, so too does her market. So we shall see if anything surfaces at auction in the near future. She is now represented by Paula Cooper, a really important gallery with multiple locations in New York City. Retail prices at these galleries are often kept on the down low, or, to more eloquently put it, on request. But I did hear that one of her moss pieces was being offered at Art Basel in Miami last December for $150,000. I think we can all agree that it's a really good thing that Ms. Webster is finally getting recognized while she's still alive. But let me know in the comments what you think. Would you spend $150,000 on a piece of this earth art? And if you like this type of thing, make sure to check out my video on Michael Heiser. I'll put a link to that right here. To everyone still watching, you guys totally rock. Thanks again for the support, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Ciao!